I am this super smart entrepreneur, I've got a great product, a promising young team, and I live in maybe Austin, and everyone keeps telling me I have to move to San Francisco. Is that true? Dana?
Not if you're raising money from Greycroft.
Why is that?
I think 82% of our investments have actually been outside of Silicon Valley. So, we're finding opportunities everywhere, and I think that there are great opportunities and great growth pockets in Austin and New York and LA and Seattle and Chicago, sort of all over the country and all over the world.
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, if you are based in Austin or New York or Boston or LA and you've got a network where you've got a recruiting advantage in that environment, then it might make sense to stay there. If you don't really feel like, if there's some expertise you need that doesn't exist in the market that you're in, I do think that the Bay Area is, kind of quantitatively the best place to found companies.
Isn't it getting too expensive, though? I organized a dinner last week, and your fellow investor, Chamath Palihapitiya, had noted that being based in San Francisco at this point basically cuts your runway in half. He said, if you live in San Mateo, if you live in Oakland, you can get, so much more mileage out of your fundraise. Does that change things? I think
Jeremy, Chamath said, as long as you don't spend all your money on Kind bars, you're okay.
Right. Jeremy, any thoughts?
The thing is, I really do think you can start a company anywhere. The challenge is scaling that company to the next level. So you can find great individual contributors, you can find great developers, you can find great designers, you can find great product people in any country, in any city, in any town in the world. But then once you start to scale, let's say it's working, and you start to hit 100 people on the team. And now you want to have some VP level folks who are actually not in the weeds doing the work, not even one up, but maybe two up from the front line. Finding the people who have the experience, who've done that before, gets more difficult the further you are from the Bay Area. It doesn't matter whether it's San Francisco or Oakland or the Peninsula or even the North Bay. There is a set of experience, especially on the consumer side, even more so, frankly, on the enterprise and infrastructure side.
Yeah, true.
That only exists here. And there are certain cities in the world where you can, and New York, LA, increasingly in Europe, you're starting to see some of that second generation experience. But if you're in Tuscaloosa, you're going to have a tough time finding that locally.
Right.
And more importantly, you're going to have a tough time attracting someone who has that experience to move there. Now, if you're in a city that is a global city where people are willing to move, and I think LA counts, I think New York counts, Austin, I think, is on the edge. It has some livability stuff that makes it very attractive to people, but it doesn't have the same ecosystem for what people do next, and I think that's something people care about. So really that's the key question. If you can't attract people who are willing to move to your city, then you do have to consider moving your headquarters to a place where those people already are.
Right. Yeah, but I think Aileen made a really key point, though, which is if you have a network, sort of where your network is and what you're focused on. And, I would argue that LA, for example, probably has the most talented people in the media business of anywhere in the world. It's really been the, sort of the center and the sort of central ecosystem, and they understand the dynamics of that market better than anywhere. And so I think if you were starting a digital media company in San Francisco, you'd be recruiting executives from LA. And so, I do think it depends on the industry, and it depends on the network that you bring. And like any great entrepreneur, you've got to be a Pied Piper, and you've got to be able to recruit people anywhere, whether you're in, Reykjavik or whether you're in Chicago. And we've seen great companies in both of those places, and I think that that's a huge part of it, is being able to paint a vision and tell a story that attracts people to anywhere.
What about